Hello.
Hi, Lido.
Yes. Hi, welcome back to Destination Abroad. My name is Emmy, and today we're talking to Adam. Hi, Adam. How are you?
How you doing? Really
Hi.
good. How you there?
I'm very good. I think I can hear you a little bit later than you actually speak, so hopefully it will be okay, and we won't talk over each other. Um, how are you today, and where are you today?
I'm living in Sydney, New South Wales, Australia, the last close to 15 years now.
Wow, that's a long time. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I mean, where are you from, and whatever you want to say to start with.
All right. So originally I'm from Hungary. I was born in Miskolc, which is the northeast part of Hungary. After my graduation, I went to Budapest. I was living there for close to 10 years. And my life changed a bit, so I wanted to leave, just just really just look around in the world and everything. So first I wanted to work on cruises, but it's turned out I'm 20, at the time I was 29. So they told me I'm a bit too old for that. It's not easy to break me to get to the 16 hours and stuff like this. So another opportunity came to come to Australia. I came to study for three months, and I didn't go back for 6.5 years to Hungary.
Oh, wow. That's a permanent decision then. So you said an opportunity came up to go to Australia. How long did it take to organize the visa and the travel from Hungary to Australia?
So I think I was quite fortunate at that time. So it took me less than 3 months from the idea to get on the plane and land to Sydney with zero knowledge. So yeah, I didn't know anything about Australia. I had, the basic information like the koalas are on the street and the kangaroos, which is not. But yeah, I had nothing in my mind about Australia. I just really wanted to come to study, go home. But after I arrived, it's totally changed.
Did you go to study English or did you want to study something else?
So I wanted to study hospitality or something like sales, something like related to it. But when I applied for a visa and everything, they made an English test, and this is the difference between Australia and Hungary. So when I did the English test, that was highly recommended to start an English course for 3 months. When I came to Australia, I got to upper intermediate level, which is like quite high here for English courses. So generally, I didn't do anything for 3 months. I was quite happy with that. And I studied English, and that was an opportunity at that time to study retail, which is not exactly sales or business, but I could work 28 hours legally instead of 20 hours at the time. So that was the difference.
Oh, so you could study and at the same time work for 28 hours a week.
Yes. So the whole idea behind was like you have to study 20 hours to be able to get the student visa. And that's also granted you 20 hours to work. So you had 40 hours a week, which you have been working and studying in the same time.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad situation. I mean, I suppose when you study, you get tired, you use your mind, but at the same time, you want to earn some money as well, and you need some time to go around,
Yeah.
explore.
Yeah, I think it's really good. It's, it just depends on your expectations. What happened with me and how I was living at that time is I think 20 hours work, if you do 20 hours legal work, that can cover your expenses except the study fee. So you can pay for the accommodation, you are sharing a room with someone else. So that's like, don't think about it, you are going to have your own house. You can afford to buy a really cheap car. You can fill up with petrol, pay for the insurances, and just have some food on your plate. So generally 20 hours, I think, at the time, I'm not sure now, but could cover your basic expenses.
Yeah, that doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah.
But what was your first impression when you arrived to Australia? How did you feel in the first few days?
Oh, it's very strange. So I was fortunate to travel a bit in my life, but I didn't stay long time anywhere else than in Australia before. And also, just to have the cars driving on the left side of the street. Yeah, some differences, like it's the difference with the northern and south hemisphere. So I arrived in December, came from winter. I was expecting something similar. Even when you do your own study and you know what's happening, that's different than when you arrive and that's really happening. So I knew that it's summer here, but you still don't believe it. Like, how come it's summer? It's December. So I came in December, I had my jacket on and everything, and that was really summer here. So stuff like this, that's quite good. And the first impression, people are really friendly, or they were really friendly with me. Uh, if you have a map in your hand when you are walking on the street and you look a bit lost, somebody will ask you, like, can they help you, or can they give you directions? So that's quite good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that sounds really nice. I remember actually I had the same kind of experience in Canada. I felt a bit lost, but at the same time, everyone was welcoming and helpful, which helped a lot.
Yeah.
So did it make it easy for you to integrate, to make friends at the beginning?
Not with the Australians for sure. So the language barrier, the cultural barrier, that's not makes it really easy. But Australia in this case quite unique. It's just 200 years old, so quite everybody is just immigrant here. So when they are like, oh, I have like 3 generations back, like honestly, you are still not Australian in this case. You're born here, and but everybody still calls them like, I'm Hungarian, they are Lebanese or Japanese or Korean. So it's a bit different than in the US. So in the US, if you got your paper or you are not having the paper yet, you are already American and something on the side. Here in Australia, usually you keep your nationality and you are proud of it, and after you are also Australian and you're proud of it to be Australian. But yeah, it's not an issue with that.
Does that make people form strong or close communities?
Yeah, absolutely. It's changing now. So when I came 15 years ago, definitely the suburbs were based on nationalities. So I lived in suburbs where like very strong Greek or Portuguese population has been, or Hungarian Jewish population in that era. But even during these 15 years, I see huge changes, like so much more changing, so much more mixing together nationalities and everything. So that's quite interesting, but it's also losing the uniqueness what the suburbs had previously.
And have you met lots of Hungarians there?
At the beginning, yes. So a lot of us were studying, so everybody was looking for some support and just to go out. And after that, I worked a lot I'm still working in hospitality on a different level, but I worked in restaurants, nightclubs. Everybody was looking for jobs, so usually you try to have your own nationality. And I would say, a mistake at the beginning. I started to work for a Hungarian restaurant, so not really good for your English, to be honest. But that's it's just to give some confidence to you. You understand what they want. In the worst case scenario, they can start to speak to you in Hungarian. But yeah, I would highly recommend everybody don't live with Hungarians and don't work with Hungarians if you want to learn English. Otherwise, it's more difficult.
Yes, it feels like a safety net, but in reality, it's just delays your progress.
Absolutely.
And you can learn English much faster if you work with other. Well, it doesn't have to be native English speakers, but just everyone else who doesn't speak your own language, but you have to speak English with them.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm really happy. I have a Hungarian girlfriend, but that's not good for our English for sure. So we're speaking Hungarian at home. So, you know, I just see it on my friends who has relation with different nationalities, or they are living with different people. Definitely their English is more colorful than mine, for sure.
I know what you mean. So you met your other half while you were studying right at the beginning. Is that right?
I have been here like 8 months when she came to study into the same school. And yeah, it's the beginning of the story. And yeah, we met. We you know, I helped her get a job, and you know, like all of the pushy stuff what you can do as a guide, you know, just to get an attention from a girl. And we were together a couple of times and everything still. And we ended up together, so 14 years now, close to.
Oh, that's like a really nice love story.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a romantic.
No.
And can I ask what you do now?
As I told, I still do hospitality, but it's a bit different. I'm doing corporate hospitality, which means I'm working for one of the, or not one of the longest standing Australian financial firm. So that's 132 years of the company. And we have a level with 25 meeting rooms where we are accommodating clients from like a short meeting for a tea and coffee up to like 200 people maximum capacity when we have a cocktail party for them, and some like everything between that.
And was your qualifications that you got in Hungary enough for this job, or did you study further in Australia?
So I finished hospitality school back in Hungary, so that was a good start, and I think it still gives me a better advantage for a lot of things. I think the strong knowledge what you get in Hungary, that's quite good. So the education at the time was very helpful for me. The style probably different than here, so that's much more strict, but I'm benefiting from it absolutely. So whatever I think that's like I'm laid back, that's when people are coming back to me like, oh my God, you are doing 5 times more than what we expect from anyone else. And that's just so good. So this one, how it started, I came here, I was like, look, I did sales previously in Hungary, but my English, my level of English and the knowledge of the place, I was like, it's probably not the best option for me. And I started to do hospitality again. And probably about the work ethic, what you get from Hungary, you know, you start to be smart. It's not just, you know, you have to be smart in Hungary if you want to survive. So don't take me wrong. So I think that helped me to get my first job in the Hungarian steakhouse. And I think for the first 5 years, I didn't have to apply for a job again. So every single job has been recommended or offered to me without anything. So when I got my first full-time job, I was in trouble because I haven't had a CV for 5 years. And I was like, okay, that's good. I got the job already when they were like, oh, by the way, you have to submit a CV. I was like, that will be a challenge. That's good. I have to spend a bit of time to write my resume. Just give me a week, please. So yeah.
That sounds funny. After you got the job, you had to submit a resume.
Yeah, because HR was adamant about that. That they generally every job has to be advertised in Australia. So it's not just like you like on different levels. You know, if you want somebody in a cafe, absolutely, that's you walk in and you get the job. But on different level, like corporate level or something like this, they have to advertise the job. They have to prove it. You are the right person for the job. So they needed a CV. I was like, okay, that's fine. So I already passed, like they had like typing. I remember I had to go for a typing test, which was a nightmare because I can type, but the problem, the Hungarian keyboard has the Z and the Y opposite. So when they were like, you have to type on time, I constantly screwed up. So I had quite a bad score on that. And I was like, look, if you check the Y's and Z, if you just do them opposite, I scored like 95%. Otherwise, I was like 60% or something like this. So yeah, that's a challenge.
I know I had to relearn typing in English after I've done it already in Hungary. But when I moved to England, then I had to redo the whole thing because of the difference in the keywords. So
Yeah.
I know what it's like. It takes time to remember. Like, and even now, I still type the wrong thing. So
Yeah,
I
can be
understand.
challenging.
And so it's I just want to know your opinion. Obviously, you're not a recruiter, but what do you think it's like now? If someone goes to Australia, would it be easy for them to find a job if they are willing to?
That's the right word, what I was looking for. Like, if you are willing to, the jobs are here. I'm 100% sure. So probably that's not going to be the job what you are looking for. But my recommendation, if you have nothing to lose back in Hungary, back up, try to get a visa, which is not that easy. Get a visa, come here, and you will have a job. Like, if you have no expectations. The other thing, if you have millions, but in dollar, I'm not talking about in Hungarian forint, but if you have millions and you have time to wait, even for a year, you can get the job what you are looking for, but your English has to be really good. So that's the two options. If you have some money in Hungary, you have a somewhat acceptable life, and you are not ready to lose everything and give up everything, don't come. You are the type of people who are coming with expectation, with a quite acceptable life from Hungary, they go back and they never find a way, not here in Australia, but in anywhere around the world, I think. And that same story. So I have a couple of people I know personally who came back to Australia at least 3 times. So they came to here, they didn't find it what they wanted. They went back to Hungary. They haven't found what they missed. They came back to Australia. They had difficulties. They went back to Hungary and they came back to Australia again. So I think if you give up once and you get the travel bug, it's really difficult to settle. So
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't know much about Australia, but I have met people in England who did the same thing, and I would say as well that you have to prepare yourself for not having an easy life to start with.
No,
Unless,
absolutely.
as you said, unless you have millions in the bank. But yes, at the beginning, it's always a lot more difficult. It's a new language, different food, different people. So you really have to work hard. But if you're willing to, you can get a job. It's just probably not going to be your dream job to start with.
Absolutely. Look, I have been a key account manager in a corporation back in Hungary, paid quite well. I came here, and on my 30th birthday, I had to work first of all, and I was flipping burgers in the Luna Park. So I was like, yeah, I was like, fuck, really? Is this what I want? Like, I had an assistant paid car, quite well paid job back in Hungary. And I'm flipping burgers on my 30th birthday with 16 years old kids who are speaking better English than me. They are laughing on my accent, which was really good. And yeah, it's just challenge. And you are like, okay, should I go home? Like, honestly, I had a good life or whatever. And that's one of the reasons why it's Australia really good for me. It's too far to give up. Like, if you give up, like, you have to fly 24 hours. That's just like really? I'm not going home. That's, from England, you get on the bus and, you get on the train or even on the flight, and you are back in Hungary in like 2 hours. Here, that's a bit more difficult.
Yeah, it's a lot further than England. But there must have been something else that made you want to stay for a bit longer. What do you think?
Yeah, that's like, I think the whole lifestyle, this like, Australians are like, no worries, that's, something will happen. And sorry. So I think that's quite explaining everything. Like here, like what happened, I had a business back in Hungary and I did everything right. We paid the tax and everything. And, that's made money. But I knew that it's like if I make mistakes or I delay my tax a day or whatever, I get some penalties there for that. And I have a story. I usually tell it when I go back to Hungary. I started a business here, didn't go well. I didn't do anything with that. That was like a sole trader. And I didn't do anything with that. So 3 years later, I have been working for a company. I worked like 100 hours at the time. And the taxation office calls me and they are like, oh, by the way, we just want to remind you, you haven't paid the tax. And I was like, look, probably I don't have to pay that tax. I don't have any income. That didn't generate any income. So yeah, but you still have to report it. I was like, okay, so this is November. I was like, look, November and December in hospitality, it's like crazy. I have no time to visit my accountant and everything. I can go to visit my accountant on January, but the accountant is going away for a month. So he's coming back in February. Probably it's going to take a bit of time. So in March, we can submit it. So that's 4 months from there. I'm already 3 years behind. So back in Hungary, this probably would cost me my house or anything. And the guy, okay, that's fine. I told him like, look, I just want to figure out how much does it cost to me. Right? I don't get it what you want. So we had a couple of times this same question, same answer, and I was like, look, you just told me I'm delayed 3 years. I'm going to delay another 4 months. So I just want to find out how much is the penalty. He's like, look, if you can't submit on a March, you can submit on April, just give us a call. I was like, okay, that's fine. So that was one thing. And so I went to an accountant and they were like, look, it's cost $3,000 every year what you want to report. I was like, look, this company doesn't make money. I just, I don't have $9,000 for this one. So I called the taxation office and I was like, look, I'm really sorry if I have to close down my business, anything. I can't pay $9,000. The reaction of the taxation office, okay, in this case, just pack up all of your papers, come here. We will recommend you an accountant who is really like somebody else. So that's not the taxation office accountant. That will do the audit of your company and we pay for it. I was like, are you kidding me? But
that's unbelievable.
Yeah, so unheard, and that's something like what I would not expect from anything. So I was still skeptical at the time. I was like, it's something not good. Like, if the taxation office looks into my paper, they will find something. So I finally found an accountant. He's still my accountant. And he did it for $1,000 a year because he knew that that's like nothing happening. It's like no papers. So this is how I usually explain how Australia is. Like here, they want you to survive with your company, generate tax, generate everything, pay and look after your employees and stuff like this. Instead of that, like to give you a penalty, what you will never ever pay anyway. They want to support you. It's
they want you to succeed.
Yes, absolutely. So they are happy to help. And also that's another example, like the GFC came in and, every countries were freaking out, like, money doesn't worth anything anymore. All of the companies are in trouble. People doesn't spend money anymore. That's just no money on the bank accounts, blah, blah, blah. So what the Australian came up with the idea, instead of increasing the tax, so have money for the government, they decided whoever paid or not, whoever submitted the tax papers for the previous year, that person got $1,000 without any restriction, just to spend. So you could spend on the whatever you wanted. So that's kept the whole economy flowing, because you got $1,000. What you do with that? Not everybody in Australia, especially, was like, "Oh my God, it's $1,000. Put it on the bank account. Don't touch it, and it will generate money." So everybody was like, "Oh, I can refill my car. I can buy better things in the shop and everything." So that's kept, and you pay tax from it, and the companies are paying tax for it. So the whole economy started to grow. And that's, it's a different mentality and thinking.
Yeah, that's actually really clever, because this way, it's good for everyone. It's good for the small vendors, the small companies, and it's good for the actual whole country, because they eventually it will improve everyone's life. So people will spend again, and people will earn again, and the whole circle of economy. That's really clever. I like it.
Yeah. So this is the reason why I stay. Like, it's livable. Like, I don't worry about it if I lose my job today. Like, I will find something. Maybe not tomorrow, but I know that if you work hard or anything, that's takes you to the next point. And also on the other side, like, it's not really expected to work 100 hours and you get paid for 40. So my job, especially hospitality, it requires you to work more. Here they like, on the level what I work, they tell me, like, take another day off, just because the whole week was crazy busy before, and I put extra hours. I don't get paid by hours, and they are just like, okay, take a day, that's fine, no worries about that. And that comes back constantly. No worries. We will find some solution for that. So even on corporate level, that can be done.
That's really employee friendly attitude, because they probably understand that if you're overworked and tired, your performance is not going to be that great, is it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you think you will stay there forever?
Don't say forever, ever. I don't know. So we don't have plan. My partner, she wanted to go at the beginning. Start from the beginning. So she has stronger relations to Hungary than what I have. So for me, I'm happy where am I. So if I'm in Hungary, I'm happy here. Or if I'm in Hungary, I'm happy there. If I'm here, I'm happy here. So it makes my life easy. She hates me for this one, because it's similar with the jobs. Like, if I work somewhere, I like it. That, it's not bad. I'm not going to work like I hate this job. It's no point. And that's why we have some I know agreements. I can't go back to work to restaurants, because restaurants are not really family friendly work. And she is like, we had difficulties when I was really close to go back to restaurants just to get a job. She was like, rather don't go back, because if I start to work there, even if I know that I don't want to stay long, I will like it and I will stay for long. So usually I stay quite long every places where I work. So yeah,
Actually,
never ever.
never say forever.
Yeah.
But actually, it also brings up the question, what about family? I assume all your family is back in Hungary, or do you have any family in Australia?
No, so family is like, after 14 years, I have to say she's family. But my parents, only my father is, so from my family side, only my father is alive. So he's back in Hungary, and we established a better relationship in the last couple of years. So we call each other every week. we have a set time. So that's, we are the last one from the family in this case. But my partner, she has so much bigger family, so she's missing them. And that's, if you want kids and stuff like this, definitely you need some support, and that's really, really nice if you have somebody here. We see that.
What about friends? Because some people say, after a while, your friends become your family. Sometimes, especially if you go abroad, because most people don't take their whole family with them, obviously, and they make friends who are also from another country, so they bond a really close relationship. So I'm guessing my question is, do you have any friends there that you rely on?
Yeah, I think I have a couple of them. It's again a bit long story, but if you come to study, be prepared. You are going to lose a lot of people. So sorry, it just like at the beginning you come and you start to establish really strong relationships. Everybody is in the same boat. They study with you. They started at the same time. You have all of the experiences together, but they go home and that breaks you. So not many people stay, especially for really long, like we are. So a lot of them left, and that's really like quite difficult to keep up with them. So that's, but on the other side, who stayed, like I have a couple of friends, and I believe we are quite close, and that's really helping a lot. So I have friends who are like in a different city now, but we still catch up and we look after each other and everything. I'm the godfather of their kids and stuff like this. Yeah, that helps. But yeah, absolutely, be ready for that to lose people. So I think we got to the like third or fourth year when we started to have no friends. Like we didn't want to have friends because it's harder when they are leaving. So you got to the point like I don't want to get anybody close because they will leave. So that's
Actually, yeah, I almost forgotten how it feels like. I had the same experience. After a few years, I had this feeling that I don't want to make any more friends because I'm just gonna lose them, and it's almost like a waste of time. Of course, it isn't, but yeah, it can get a bit frustrating, I guess. And
yeah, absolutely.
but luckily nowadays we've got Skype or we've got Hangouts we're using now, so you can keep in touch with everyone. But I'm assuming it wasn't. Well, I know it wasn't that easy 15 years ago because I was in the same boat.
Yeah, it was different. Different. It's like, the experience what I had at the beginning, like as I thought, I didn't have a clue about it, where I'm coming from and what I will do here. So I was like, okay, let's get there, something will happen. And, that's quite easy. But even what I wanted to find information, it was very limited. So I even started a blog to write about every single day what's happening, even if it was just raining and stuff like this. But I think after that was a bit different than now because the visa didn't allow me to work for the first 3 weeks. So I had plenty of time. So I was writing a lot. And I got to the point like I was working a lot, plus the study that started to be a bit more challenging. And I wouldn't say I had to stop. I just got to the point like whatever was interesting at the first day, like, it's summer at winter time and stuff like this. After the second year, it's not that it's interesting anymore. There's just a new season for you.
Actually, I wanted to ask you earlier, how did your family feel when you decided to go to Australia? Did they support you? What did they react?
Look, when you decide you are going for 3 months, that's not a big deal.
Fair enough.
It's about my family also. My father is a mariner, so he was working on the sea for like 9 months to 2 years without coming home. So it's already gave I don't know, the whole vibration of the family. So we are a bit not that close, but we know that, like, distance doesn't make any difference. It's not just because you see each other every day. So my partner's brother was here. He called the family every single day. So that's different. If I don't call them for a week, we call each other next week. So that's not a big deal.
Yeah, and also for me, you get used to it after a while. Even when I wanted to call my parents, if I had a problem or anything happened, I couldn't for some reason. And then later I just got used to it, and I would call them once a week. They're happy, I'm happy. I guess, we know that everyone is fine, and if we really need each other, we can make contact if it's necessary, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So generally our end of the course is like, look, let's talk next week. If anything comes up, bring immediately. So that's all.
And have you managed to travel around in Australia or anywhere else while you were there? Or how often, actually, first question, how often did you go back to Hungary?
So the first 6.5 years, I didn't go back at all. So I didn't have the urge. The first year I had a ticket back to Hungary when I got an offer from a client in a restaurant to visit them in Malaysia, and I was really hesitating, like, what should I do? And my mom was still alive at the time, and she was like, look, you have been living in Hungary for 28 years. That's nothing new here. Like, it's nothing changed in the last year. So that's one thing. And you have got the opportunity to go to Malaysia and just look around, and somebody will look after you. So I went to Malaysia and honestly spent the 10 days of my life, the best 10 days of my life. They were really super nice. They didn't know anything about me. It's turned out they are like super rich, like absolutely, like even in Australian way. They had like cocoa bean plantations and palm oil factory and everything. So they were quite wealthy, but they looked after me like human beings. Like they didn't show off their money. They didn't care about the money, fortunately, at all. So I really had a really good time, and really enjoyed that. And they didn't want anything in return. So it was quite embarrassing. I told them, like, whenever they are coming back to Australia, they have to contact me. I'm probably going to work in a restaurant or whatever, and I can look after them. And for the next couple of years, every year when they came back, they just send me a message after that, like, oh, we have been in Hungary, in Australia, really enjoyed that, and I hope so is everything right with you. So they never ever asked anything in return. So I really enjoyed that. Really good.
Oh, that's very kind. And so have you managed to travel to other countries while you were there? Because Australia is quite far away from everything, isn't it?
Yeah. So generally, like, back to the first question, like, about traveling in Australia, it's quite expensive. So it's like we are going to exotic locations like Bali or Thailand or something like this because that's cheap. So from here, that's cheap. Like we sometimes go to different places in Australia, but if we want to get involved in any activities, that's cost a fortune. That's like that's really expensive. So what we pay here for a scuba diving, for example, that can pay for a whole day accommodation somewhere in Thailand or Bali or stuff like this. So, you make a decision like, okay, the flight tickets are nothing. Like, if you work in a restaurant on casual work, you can pay for a flight ticket in like 2 or 3 hours work. So that's nothing. So you go to Thailand instead of staying in Australia, probably you save on the travel, not every time. Sometimes it's more expensive to fly domestic than to go international. And you pay 5 times more than what you would pay in Bali or anywhere else. So yeah,
Wow.
it's better to travel than to stay in Australia. That's what we usually do.
That's actually shocking. I mean, normally it's your own country would be cheaper, staying within the country.
Nah, it's like the problem with like it's not a problem, but generally what's happening in Australia, the value of the dollar is quite high anywhere else than in Australia. And here it's a good thing for labor, they get well paid, but that's cost you a lot because you have to pay the labor costs. So that's why it's expensive
Yeah.
here, even for Australians, and everybody is traveling, I think.
Yeah, so I met a lot of Australians in Bali and now in Thailand as well, actually. And it's true,
Absolutely.
these Southeast Asian countries are so cheap. And as you said, the dollar, the value of the dollar is a lot higher here as
Absolutely.
well. So
Yeah.
I understand. And actually, when I used to live in England, at the beginning, you know, I had to work in a restaurant or in a shop, and people asked me why I'm doing these jobs. If I have to work a lot, I don't get paid like extremely well because these are not the
Yeah.
best paid jobs.
No.
But still, I wanted to stay in England, and they asked me why I don't understand. And I said, well, to be honest, even with this kind of job, I can afford to go on holidays, I can afford to buy things for myself and live a normal, good quality life.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't rich, but still the quality of life was good enough for me at least.
Yeah.
Is it the same for you?
It's similar. So you earn more and your expectations are more. So trust me, what I pay now for the accommodation, I wouldn't be able to afford from my first week's salary. So something like this. It's just constantly growing. So we had a discussion like we have to decide what we want in the future because as soon as my salary is going higher or Frida's salary is going higher, our expectations are getting higher also. So we it's quite settled and we are sitting thinking about it like what we buy and how much we spend. But the tiny things what you are buying extra, that's coming out from the extra money what you get. So it's hard to save, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. So I know what you mean, actually. Yeah, I somehow ended up earning more and spending more as well.
Yeah,
Um, but if you want to save, you could. So there is that
absolutely. Yeah.
option as well, which is really good. Um, Having said all this, what would you say to people if they want to move to Australia? Is there anything to look out for before they make the decision?
Um, a good question. Generally, to get as much information as possible, and on the other side, don't listen to anyone. Listen to your heart. Like the problem who you are going to meet in Hungary, that's probably people who are disappointed about Australia. So based on that information, you should never come. It's harder to get information from people who are here. I wouldn't say everybody is here happy with the situation what they have, but probably they have a different point of view than people who are disappointed or went home. Some of them are not disappointed and still went home, so that's, don't take me wrong. It just everybody has different opinion and you are the only one who will experience it. So my experience, what I had as a, I started as a waiter and went on and on and on. I have students for a quite a while. I had a student agency, and I remember I was earning around 15 to $18 an hour at that time in a restaurant, and I was working there for more than a year. And I had a student to come out to study here, and he came back to me like a month later, and he was like, "Look, can you help me with jobs and everything? I'm really not happy." And I was like, "What's the story?" He's like, "They don't want to pay more than $25 an hour to me." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like you are getting $7 more, which doesn't sound a big deal, but you are getting like how much I earned, like 15. So like 50% more than what I get. And you are here a month, I'm here years, and you are not happy. So I just wasted my time. But it just depends how you look. You look at the whole story and everything. So everybody has different expectation, different stories. You have to make your own story, honestly. If you can come out, you have enough money, and you are willing to, I don't know, to make sacrifices, absolutely come to Australia, get the visa, and try yourself. That's the only way.
Probably the best thing to say, don't have high expectations, but go with the flow and be open-minded, I guess.
Yeah. So generally just prepare yourself and prepare yourself, not any, like, I think nothing is going to be as you expected. Because I had my expectations to get a job. Like everybody told me at that time, around $15 is going to be a quite okay money for jobs what I can get at that level. So I immediately made calculations like I'm better than anyone, so I'm going to get that $20 an hour. So that's easy. And I will pay back the student fee. I will pay everything. I'm going to be quite rich, and I'm going home after whatever, after a year. And yeah, that's not how it works. So I came here and I worked for, I think $12 was the lowest one, like $12 an hour. And it still gave me the opportunity to pay for everything what I needed, but you don't save money. And when it comes to the time to pay the student fee, that's not where you pay it. So that makes it difficult. But on the other side, try to, like I thought, like I don't have problems with Hungarian, don't take me wrong, but every single nation is trying to take advantage on the other one who is not speaking English, who is not enough going out. And you are an easy target. If you go into a Hungarian restaurant, which was, in my case, that was not the situation. If you go into a Hungarian restaurant and you are not speaking English, and everybody gets paid $15, and they offer you 10, you will take it because you don't start in another restaurant. It sounds like Hungarians are not good to each other. I have friends. I worked for a company where I employed more than 100 waiters, and I trained them and looked after them. And we had a conversation. One of the girls, she was really deeply in Koreans, and she went to work for a Korean restaurant, and she came to me. She was Hungarian, and she was kind of crying, and she was like, "Look, I have a situation. Like, I can't take more work from you, but because I'm worried about that I'm losing the other job." I was like, okay, so look, money is talking. Let's make a calculation, like how much money you are getting there. She got $4 an hour, and they were like,
"Oh my God!"
And you can eat. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, it's not a threatening you. You are losing the job. You have to lose this job. Because the problem, she was like, oh, they are giving me so much hours. And I was like, yeah, you are working for them 40 hours and you get paid $160. Or you work 8 hours for me. At that time, I paid $20, or not me, but the company I work, we paid $20 per hour. Like, so you work 8 hours for us, or you work 40 hours for them. I think you have to lose that job. Oh, but they are very nice, and they are Korean. And it's like, you're crazy. That can't be. So everything, like, every time, like, oh, Hungarians are not good to each other. It happens everywhere. The Slovakians are the same. The Czechs are the same. Not just the Eastern Europeans, but Koreans, everybody is doing the same.
Yeah.
If you don't speak English and you can't stand up for yourself, somebody will take advantage of you.
Yeah. Without the language knowledge, you start with a disadvantage. That's definitely
Absolutely.
the case everywhere. communication is very important, especially if you're in a foreign country and then you don't know that many people. You have to sell yourself, you have to make sure you understand the rules there because it might be different. So yeah, I would say English in Australia would be the first thing that you have to learn.
Yeah.
Well,
look, it's also what I recommend, like high, I don't know, set your challenges really high. So even if you believe you don't speak English, and especially that's the case after you are studying in Hungary, where it's like everybody focusing on that, like, oh, you don't use this one as a right sentence. Honestly, my English is still shocking. Sometimes I just like, oh my God, I shouldn't speak English. But I know that I recognize, but I'm happy to talk to people. They laugh, I laugh, and that's it. So sometimes my Australian colleagues are like, oh, really? That's like, it's really, really basic mistake. And I just learn from it. But if you get to the point like, oh my God, should I use this one? Oh, my English is not really good. My teacher told me I'm a useless, my knowledge is not enough good. You will never ever communicate here. Just be open-minded. What could be the worst thing? They will laugh, whatever, laugh with them. That's how it works. And that's absolutely works, I think, in many cases in my life. Like, if you are open, go there, try your best. What could happen? They will fire you, whatever, that's their loss, not mine. But that's how I get jobs and everything. So look, I don't have a higher education degree. I'm even Australia is very open. That's still a challenge if you are not a native speaker. They definitely, I think it's a benefit for us Hungarians, like we are white, even if Australia is very open and very multicultural, it's still a benefit. You will get easier a job if you are European or have a European background than somebody from Asia or from India. That's also probably in a Japanese restaurant, I wouldn't get a job. So, that's how it works. So I think very important, be open, speak English as much as you can, and not worry about it, what will happen. Just go with the Australian way. No worries. What would be the worst thing? Like, they fire you? Come on, whatever, especially at the beginning. It's hard to get a job, but it's not impossible. So you just have to put the effort in that and you can get a job.
I think I know your answer, but I'll ask you anyway. Now looking back, would you have done anything differently?
Oh yeah, I would buy Bitcoin.
It's a bit late for that.
Good question. Probably yes and no. So yes, of course, every time you have something what you would do differently. But I'm happy. That's how it is. It's like I wouldn't quit my first full-time job probably, but why not? That gave me a different experience. I got something else out of it. So
I'm pretty sure it was still worth it.
Yeah, look, no, I lost, but no, I quit because I wanted to start my own business, but I started my own business at the wrong time and the wrong place. So it was a loss, but I learned from it. So in this case, yeah, absolutely, that worth it. But if I think about it, like, that company is still very good. I had a really good position over there. So I really enjoyed the job there. And I could be a shareholder now. So after 5 years, they provide shares and stuff like this in the company. So yeah, based on that, probably not the best decision, but it's all right. I got a different job. I'm different level now. So
yeah,
absolutely learn from it.
And they didn't have any kangaroos or koalas.
No, that's really bad. Like we had some conversation like, I think I were at the Luna Park at that time when we had one of the Australian supervisor. We just had a conversation like, what was the expectation? Like really, when you come out to Australia knowing nothing, what did you think? And I was like, oh, everybody told me like I have to have like desert boots, like, like Australia has the deserts, and be ready for the scorpions and the spiders and the kangaroos, the koalas and everything. I think I haven't seen a single koala in the first year. So yeah, that's really bad. But yeah, it's not like the stray dogs on the street somewhere else. So kangaroos and koalas, not in the city for sure, not in Sydney. And
it's not like in the movie, what was it called? Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah. I think they have a new movie of that, like Crocodile Dundee's son or something like this. It's a comedy. I haven't seen it yet, but it's quite interesting as far as I could see the previews. So yeah, don't worry about that. Like a couple of people mentioned that, like, oh, you are going to Australia, and that like sharks are in the ocean and spiders everywhere. The most venomous snakes are here and stuff like this. It was like, yeah. And at that time, that was an accident back in Hungary when somebody was walking on the street and the wall was falling on that person and died. It was like, so my risk is same here. Like I can die anytime, anywhere. So I'd rather die in Australia swimming with the sharks than just die with a very simple life where you are bored or you are not satisfied with your life generally.
Yes, at least you know that you gave it a go, you tried,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So no spiders and scorpions, then I can go there.
Yeah, it just depends which part of the country you are going. But definitely in Sydney, I think I got bitten by the spider on my second year, but that was a huntsman, which is like the size of my palm, but that's harmless. So it's happened because I put my hand into a box, which I didn't check before, and that was outside of Sydney. So that happens close to national parks or stuff like this, but it rarely happens to see any spider, for example, in my flat, and I'm living 20 kilometers from the CBD. So it's not exactly the city. It's like a suburb or an outskirt, I would say. That's the north shore of Sydney. And yeah, really rare to see spiders, whichever is, I haven't seen snakes. I'm here 15 years. I haven't seen snakes. Saw them in the zoo, but no, nowhere else.
Yeah, that's reassuring. Although you say that big spider is harmless, but I think, even if it's not poisonous, it would give me a heart attack.
Yeah. So the funny part with this one is like people usually like, oh, don't kill them, just put a glass on it, put a paper under that, and you can throw them away. Yeah, but with the huntsman, they are jumping. So they don't just run very quickly, but they are jumping. Yeah, that's the reaction usually. Yeah, and you can be a strong male, very muscly. You can scream like a girl, honestly. It just happens when it starts to run, and it's like, it doesn't want to run to you, doesn't want to kill you or anything, but starts to run to your direction. Yeah, you are screaming. That's for sure.
I believe you. I would be screaming for sure. Okay. And actually, just one more question. What is it like to have Christmas in summer?
No
sorry.
feeling, like no feeling for Hungarians, I think. So it's funny at the beginning, and they don't understand our culture. So when I tell them like, oh, it's not cold, no dark, no snow, that's not just no Christmas for me. And they are like, oh, if I don't have a Barbie, I'm not sitting in the pool, and sun is not like 30 degree or over, that's no summer, no Christmas for them. So it just depends what is your expectation. I'm still missing it. It's like 15 years. I kind of accommodated for the temperature and everything. I'm getting cold when it's 15, so plus 15. So, in Hungary, minus 15, you get the jacket and that solves the problem. If it is 15-degree here, I'm shivering, honestly, like it's freezing. So you get accommodated to this one. I still couldn't get accommodated to the Christmas. People are having the Christmas hat, going down to the beach, have a beer, and that's Christmas for them. So yeah, different.
Yeah, very different. I guess is what you you are brought up with, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me today.
Anytime.
And for all the information you gave us and all the stories. And I wish you all the best for the future.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.